There are tons of spells at your disposal in Hogwarts Legacy, but you want to use specific combos to get the most out of them. So in this video, we want to go over the best spell combos in the game, as well as some secret and maybe even unintended interactions between spells you might not know about. If you're enjoying Hogwarts Legacy and like the content here on the channel as well, then leave a like to show your support, subscribe to not miss any of our spoiler-free tips and tricks videos on the game, and let's go. So when it comes to damage, Petrificus Totallus is arguably one of your most powerful spells, but you can only use it while you are undetected, meaning it's little use in combat. Or that's what you would think, but I've actually discovered that you can use it in combat, but only against the last target. If you freeze up the last enemy with glaciers, they are disabled, meaning the game registers you as out of combat, so you can walk up to your target and instantly shatter them by casting Petrificus Totallus with square or X. So a quick way to easily take out the last enemy, although it won't work on enemies with bigger health pools, so for those we need a different solution. And we do actually have one, but you need an Unforgivable curse for that. We made a video on how to get all of these and more of the incredibly powerful dark arts, so I'll link to that one for if you want to learn more. But for this trick, we only need Imperio, which turns an enemy into an ally for 20 seconds. And since they are considered an ally if they're the last enemy standing, the game again considers you out of combat. But you can still hit your mind-controlled friend with spells if you want. That won't end the control effect, but against the target with a lot of health, you still need a lot of time to kill them, which is where Petrificus Totallus comes in. So as you can see, I am able to cast Imperio on this troll, walk up to him, repeatedly cast Petrificus Totallus until it runs out of health, all within that 20-second duration. And even if this doesn't work, you can just wait for Imperio to come off cooldown, which is pretty much immediately after the previous effect wears off, and try it again. Apart from Avada Kedavra, I think this is probably the quickest way to take down a single target, but with the downside that it only works in one-on-one combat. Avada Kedavra does of course have a longer cooldown too, but it can be used in any combat scenario and can even be used to kill off more than one enemy. Again, more info in that dark arts video I mentioned for if you're curious. Now in this video, I want to focus on more cool spell combos that let you deal tons of damage. And while an obvious first pick would be any of the red damage spells, you can actually cause a lot of harm with your force spells too. Specifically, the Pulso and Descendo are great for this, although they require a bit of situational awareness to use them properly. Because the Pulso deals no damage on its own, but if you can cause an enemy to collide with an object as you push them back, they will lose a decent chunk of health as they are smashed into a wall. I found that you can make enemies fly a lot further if you lift them up first, so set an enemy up with Leviosa, then launch them into a wall with the Pulso. Leviosa is one of your first unlocks and part of the main story, by the way, whereas the Pulso is unlocked by completing your first assignment for Professor Sharp, which you get soon after your first broom flying lesson. And you can extend this combo even further with the Descendo spell, which slams an enemy to the ground, dealing more damage if the target is up in the air before they crash down. So after lifting an enemy up with Leviosa and slamming them to a wall with the Pulso, you can immediately slam them back to the ground with Descendo to deal even more damage. None of these spells have a long cooldown, so you are easily able to use the full combo multiple times in a single battle. If you want to learn Descendo, you have to continue with the main story until it turns awesome, and then you'll receive an assignment from Professor Onai, which will reward you with the spell. But if throwing enemies around like toy dolls is not your playstyle, then there are a lot of ways to enhance the damage of your red damage spells by combining them with others. A quick cast of Glacius will freeze an enemy, amplifying the damage of the next attack that hits. So from range, I recommend following up with a quick Defindo, as that has the most single target damage as well as good range. This quick 1-2 punch will deal a lot of damage to any enemy, and the damage increase is actually really significant. Without Glacius, I hit for 418 damage with Defindo, but if I freeze my target first, the damage is increased to 1027, which is more than double. Again, both of these spells are unlocked through completing assignments. You get Glacius from Professor Kogawa shortly after unlocking the Room of Requirement, whereas Defindo is a reward for your second assignment for Professor Sharp. So if you've already unlocked the Pulso spell we mentioned earlier, it should appear in your quest log shortly after. But there is actually a red spell that deals even more damage than Defindo, which is Incendio. The problem with that spell is that it is significantly hindered by its very short range, meaning you can only hit enemies very close to you. But we of course have Accio for that, so use it to pull enemies close, which is the perfect range to burn them to a crisp with Incendio. However, if you want to maximize your damage, you want to add 2 more spells to this rotation. You see, pulling a target close with Accio will also raise them off the ground, giving you a setup to slam them down with Descendo for max damage. Then, as they bounce back up, freeze them with Glacius to further increase the damage of your final hit in the combo, which is of course the close range powerhouse Incendio. A 4-spell combo like this is perfect, as it means you can slot all spells in a single set. This combo will take out most enemies instantly and is especially useful against ranged enemies that tend to stand further away, and since the cooldowns on all of these spells are really short, if you wait a small bit after using it, you can immediately do the full combo again. You can actually pull off a similar combo at range by swapping out Accio with Leviosa and Incendio with Defendo. So then you lift the target up with Leviosa, slam them back down with Descendo, freeze them in midair and finish them off with a powerful Defendo slash. And like Glacius, Leviosa is a great setup spell for some extra hurt as airborne targets take increased damage, so nice to follow up with Confringo, Bombarda and Defendo. Quick tip for if you're fighting Dugbox, by the way, as the specific combination of Leviosa and Defendo can make short work of them. If you cast Leviosa on a Dugbog before it's about to attack with his regular attack, so the one that shows up with an orange halo and not a red one, you can levitate it by its tongue. Casting Defendo while it's in this state will cut it off, dealing massive damage and often killing the creature outright. But if you really want to deal massive damage, then your best friend is the Transformation spell, which might sound strange as it simply turns an enemy into a wooden barrel, but paired with the Depulso spell, you are able to insta-kill any target. Which again is strange, as normally the Transformation spell is more for crowd control, and attacking the barrel will just break it and make the transformed enemy reappear. But with the Depulso, you can blast the barrel away, instantly killing your target, and it even works on infamous foes. Sadly, the Transformation spell doesn't work on every enemy, like don't expect to turn a troll into a barrel, but for most targets, simply casting these two spells should be enough to kill them outright. You unlock the Transformation spell through the main story, it's the second main mission after it turns winter. And if you want to make the spell even more awesome, you should definitely unlock the talent for it, which we covered in a video with more of the best talents you definitely want to get, so I'll link to that one in the video description. And while all the spells we've covered so far have been useful in combat, you will of course be using a lot of them to solve puzzles as well. And there's a neat little trick for this that unlocks when you learn Wingardium Leviosa from Professor Garlick's first assignment. You will be using this spell a lot for moving objects around, but it's of course no real use in combat. So instead, save yourself the spell slot in your spell set and use Accio instead. Because when you pull an interactable object like these crates you need to reach high ledges into your range, your character will automatically cast Wingardium Leviosa. Provided you keep holding the right trigger, you can freely manipulate an object and turn and levitate it to wherever you want. The best part of this is of course saving space on your spell set, because even with all 4 of them unlocked, you cannot slot all your spells at once. Let us know if there are any spell combos we missed and should try out in the comments, and of course subscribe to miss none of our spoiler-free tips and tricks videos on Hogwarts Legacy. Leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and if you want, you can watch our previous video on some amazing cosmetics you don't want to miss by clicking on the screen. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.